The flexibility of our reasoning is essential for social survival. It provides the sensibilities we need to progress with others and enables rational thought in situations that demand it. Yet, when we allow the motivations for social bonds to go unchecked or indulge in irrationality to the point of taking everything personally, we face a common but pernicious problem. We start caring about what people think, and that too, a little too much. According to Stoic philosophy, at this point we lose sensibility and our reasoning becomes entangled with irrational desires, comparing what we have with what we don't. Such comparisons create perceived needs that transcend survival and often drive us to seek others' approval. This obsession shifts our focus to external concerns, blinding us to the fact that these needs, or rather wants, seem natural and are rarely recognized as problematic by those untrained to see them that way. Just what are these needs and desires? They include the irrational craving for praise, the compulsion to compare ourselves with others, and the misidentification of self-worth and survival with staying in others' good graces. In short, everything Stoicism warns us against. These are the reasons why you can't stop caring what people think and start thinking for yourself. And today, we are going to make sure you do the latter. Here is why you should stop caring what people think. But before that, if you appreciate what we are doing here, do us a simple, free favor by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And do watch the video till the end to get the mindfulness needed to start thinking for yourself. This is real talk for tough people. The Stoic way. Don't skip it, don't rush it. Hook those earphones up and let things go. The Stoic view on praise. Praise has a unique hold on the human heart. It's a craving so ingrained that it silently fuels most of our actions, steering decisions and shaping our goals. This desire for acknowledgement runs deep, manifesting differently in each person, adapting to their individual temperament, talents, and understanding of the world. For some, approval from a small circle, a group of friends, colleagues, or club members, is enough. For others, the stakes are higher, and they reach for recognition on a grander stage, seeking the applause of a community or even an entire nation. And then there are those who aspire to transcend time and place, desiring a legacy that will echo through history, their names celebrated by generations yet to come. This pursuit of commendation reveals a truth about our nature. Every person, regardless of background, ambitions, or means, yearns to reach the highest level of recognition within their grasp. We all want to be seen, to stand out, to know that we've made a mark on the world, however big or small. Even those who seem humble or reserved often hope in their quiet way to be distinguished in the eyes of others, craving a sense of purpose and validation through the recognition of their peers. For why is it that the orator, although he knows that he has composed a good speech, has memorized what he has written, and is bringing a pleasing voice to his task, is still anxious despite all that? Because he is not satisfied with the mere practice of oratory. What then does he want? He wants to be praised by his audience. Now he has trained himself in oratory, but he hasn't trained himself concerning praise and blame. For when did he ever hear anyone say what praise is, what blame is, and what is the nature of each? What kinds of praise are to be sought, and what kinds of blame are to be avoided? And when did he ever go through this course of training in accordance with these principles? Why then are you any longer surprised because he surpasses all others in the field in which he has studied, but in that in which he has not practiced, he is no better than the multitude? Even the best among us seek genuine approval. It's almost instinctual. Praise feels like a warm light that reassures us we're on the right path, that we're valued. But as natural as it feels, praise is a double-edged sword. While it can be motivating, it also has a way of embedding itself into our lives so subtly, so persistently, that we rarely pause to examine its impact on us. Why is that? Because praise has always been tied to our need for acceptance and belonging, a need that goes beyond just feeling good. It's a form of social currency, so deeply woven into our habits that it silently molds our choices, our actions, and even our values to align with what society rewards. This yearning for praise, though, easily leads us into a trap where we start caring obsessively about what people think. We may find ourselves adopting opinions, dressing a certain way, or doing things solely to fit the mold society has created. Over time, we can lose sight of what we genuinely value, tethered instead to what others deem worthy or admirable. We conform, not because it nourishes us, but because it keeps us safe in the crowd, doing things the way they ought to be done. This chase, however, is a treadmill. We run after praise, yet it gives us little more than momentary satisfaction. And in our attempts to match shifting social standards, we end up chasing ideals that do little for our inner growth. How then can we break this dependency? The Stoics offer a perspective that is both refreshingly simple and profoundly transformative. Question the praise you seek. Imagine, just for a moment, asking yourself, why am I so invested in praise from people whose opinions I don't even respect? This question alone holds the power to unravel the illusion. We often crave approval from people we might not even admire, and once we see this, we start to realize how empty that pursuit really is. If we don't find value in someone's perspective, why should their approval matter to us? The Stoics teach us to recognize this disconnect as a detachment from reality. When we align our self-worth with others' approval, especially from those who don't embody values we respect, we're building our sense of self on a foundation that can never truly support us. But by understanding this, we can shift our perspective and begin to root our values in principles that hold real meaning for us. We stop looking to society's superficial standards, which often prioritize image over substance. And instead we say, let's talk about me and my values. When am I going to praise myself for thinking right, doing right, and leading by example? This redirection allows us to detach from society's shifting ideals and to root ourselves in what matters to us. In doing so, we learn to value our own opinions over others. This is not about disregarding others or becoming indifferent. It's about developing a quiet confidence in our own ability to judge what is right for us. When we see praise as it truly is, an external, often arbitrary reflection of others' subjective judgments, we realize that it adds nothing, takes away nothing, and does nothing for our inner self. Praise is merely an echo of others' views, and when we rely on it, we make our growth, our self-worth, and our fulfillment dependent on fleeting, often misguided standards. This clarity leads to a kind of liberation, the art of not needing praise. When we stop seeking validation outside of ourselves, we cultivate a steady confidence that is rooted in our own principles. Imagine the freedom in this. The world's opinions might fluctuate, but our inner sense of worth remains unshaken. We begin to experience life with a clear mind, guided by what we know to be right, not by the transient opinions of others. This Stoic understanding doesn't mean praise will no longer affect us, but it will cease to define us. By valuing our own judgment over others, we find a lasting, unshakable strength within ourselves. This is the freedom Stoicism offers, to live a life that remains steady, meaningful, and true, independent of others' praise. But there are always people you can't help but find praiseworthy, which is why you can't stop comparing yourself to other people. Comparison is as natural as breathing. It's an instinct woven into our being, a way for us to assess and interpret the world, to discern potential threats and opportunities. In its primal form, comparison serves as a tool for survival, giving us quick insights into what may help or harm us. But outside survival, when comparison spills into everyday interactions, opinions, and self-worth, it transforms into something more insidious. an influence that Stoic philosophy warns can easily disrupt our peace, clarity, and self-mastery. When we start measuring ourselves against others, not for meaningful self-growth but from a place of envy or insecurity, we're setting ourselves up for a storm of negative emotions that only pull us further from our goals and values. This mindset is like a mental trap. Instead of motivating us, it drags us into a downward cycle of envy, insecurity, and constant frustration. Our minds begin to race. Am I falling behind? Am I less successful, less capable, less important? Such questions don't bring us any closer to who we want to be. Instead, they rob us of peace and clarity, leaving us feeling perpetually unsatisfied. The Stoics remind us that this obsession is a trap, a futile pursuit that diverts our energy away from purpose and integrity. In focusing on these external comparisons, we risk neglecting the one thing we truly control: ourselves. The drive to appear successful, admired, or envied by others is seductive, drawing us into the very trap of focusing on what we cannot control. And here lies the root of the issue. When we start comparing ourselves with others, we're setting our worth to arbitrary, often unachievable standards. Worse, we begin to make choices that don't serve our values, but only what we think will make others value us. Suddenly, we're obsessively caring about what people think, stuck in a loop. This cycle of frustration, as Stoicism teaches us, must be broken. Rather than pouring energy into things we can't change, the Stoic path calls us to turn our focus inward, channeling it into our own growth and into qualities we can influence, such as kindness, wisdom, self-control, and the pursuit of our personal goals. This shift from external comparisons to focusing on yourself isn't just about ignoring others. It's about finding alignment with your own values. When you stop chasing others' approval, you begin to experience a profound liberation that only comes from knowing that you're acting in line with what you believe to be right. The Stoic approach is simple but incredibly powerful. Recognize that your best work and highest fulfillment come not from imitating others, but from following your own unique path. Focus on what you can control: your thoughts, actions, and virtues. The Stoic virtues of courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance serve as a compass, guiding you back to what truly matters. When you ground yourself in these principles, you feel an inner stability that doesn't waver, because it's built on values that aren't subject to others' shifting opinions. In shifting your attention from external validation to cultivating your own virtues, you break free from the trap of comparison and its insecurities. You stop chasing the approval of others and start dedicating yourself to the kind of person you want to become. Instead of striving to be like someone else or to meet arbitrary standards, you build a life rooted in purpose, guided by principles, and resilient in the face of judgment. The Stoic approach shows us that by embracing our own journey and by living with integrity, we experience a deep and abiding sense of contentment. And so, when we focus only on what truly matters, when we commit ourselves to living virtuously and developing our character, we release the heavy burden of comparison. This is how we realize that we are enough, exactly as we are, and that a life of true fulfillment lies in the pursuit of our own best self. Stop caring what people think. It's one thing to stop seeking praise or avoid comparing yourself to others, but freeing ourselves from caring about others' opinions goes even deeper. On the surface, many of us may think we're indifferent to others' views, yet how often do we alter our actions or decisions just to avoid friction or to keep the peace? We slip into others' expectations almost automatically, adopting conventional views or taking someone else's assessments of us at face value. Over time, this can lead us to forget what we genuinely value, how we would think or act if left to our own inner compass. The Stoics remind us that true worth, whether of an object, person, or idea, isn't swayed by popularity or rejection. Whether someone admires or dismisses it, its value remains unchanged. Consider how easily we let others' opinions shape our self-view. A compliment might make us feel confident, as though it confirms our worth, while an insult can feel like a blow to our core. Yet by tying our self-worth to the shifting tide of others' opinions, we surrender the control we have over our own sense of value. The Stoics offer a perspective that's both liberating and challenging. If someone tries to diminish you, their opinion alone doesn't have the power to do so. Only you can choose to adopt that opinion, letting it penetrate your self-image. The real power lies within you, to either accept or dismiss it, preserving your sense of worth untouched by the fluctuations of praise or criticism. So, how do we begin to cultivate this freedom from external valuation? It starts with objectivity, the skill of looking at people, things, and even ourselves without being swayed by outside judgments. When others express opinions on what is beautiful, successful, or worthy, recognize that these are reflections of their own beliefs and biases, not universal truths. As Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, it is not what others think of us that upsets us, but rather what we think of what others think. It's a powerful shift. When we dismiss the opinion within us that clings to others' views, we free ourselves from the need for validation. We begin to see that peace comes not from others' approval, but from our own perspective. The Stoics also encourage a practice that is both empowering and humbling when facing others' judgments. When someone offers an opinion of you, be it positive or negative, respond with a sense of indifference, contempt, or even a welcoming spirit. This doesn't mean ignoring or shutting out feedback entirely. It means training yourself to be steady and unaffected by their judgments. You aren't controlled by whether they think highly or lowly of you, whether they deem you a success or a failure. Instead, by grounding yourself in Stoic wisdom, you cultivate a resilience that renders others' opinions powerless over your peace of mind. You remain rooted in your principles, unaffected by external praise or disapproval. The result of this inner freedom is a clearer, more authentic view of the world and yourself. No longer swayed by the endless waves of opinion, you gain a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your own mind and your own worth. You become the evaluator of your own life, taking stock of things as they truly are, not as they appear through the lens of approval or rejection. This is the Stoic path, to recognize the worth of things based on truth, not on what others deem valuable, and to live with a calm sense of purpose, grounded in your own inner strength. By freeing yourself from the need for validation, you'll discover that your self-worth is no longer a fragile construct that could shatter with a single insult or inflate with a fleeting compliment. Instead, you gain an unshakable foundation, a kind of quiet strength that stands firm in any circumstance. This is the heart of Stoicism, the realization that while the world and its opinions will shift, your inner value, rooted in courage, wisdom, and self-control, remains steadfast. And so, the ultimate gift of this practice is a life of authenticity and freedom, one that isn't chained to others' opinions, but guided by your own understanding of what is truly valuable. The Stoic approach to criticism, insults, and rejection. Our sense of self-worth often becomes tangled up with what others think of us, and this attachment can lead to a persistent, irrational fear of criticism, insult, and rejection. It's a silent force that drives us to care deeply about others' opinions, leading us to confuse self-worth with external validation. Imagine how much energy we expend molding our actions to avoid disapproval or to earn praise. But as Stoic wisdom tells us, our worth isn't dependent on anyone's view of us. When we believe otherwise, we're locking ourselves in a self-imposed prison built of a flawed assumption. that our inherent value can be given or taken away based on others' fleeting judgments. This dread of criticism and insult, this constant anxiety about others' opinions, creates a form of bondage. It's a prison not of bars, but of our own beliefs, limiting us, boxing us into a small, fear-driven version of ourselves. Yet, the Stoics offer us a way out, a way to break free from this cycle of approval-seeking. They propose an entirely different framework for handling criticism, one where we are not controlled by knee-jerk reactions, but where we take a moment to pause and reflect. If criticism lacks merit, it can be promptly dismissed. But if it aligns with reason and virtue, it offers a chance for growth, to use others' perspectives as fuel for becoming better, not as shackles binding us to their approval. In doing this, we stop seeing criticism as a threat and begin seeing it as a tool for self-improvement. The Stoic approach to criticism emphasizes that this process isn't about our ego, but about building character. When we engage with criticism as a tool for growth, we detach from the need to be liked, from the need to be validated by others. Instead, we start to value the wisdom that criticism can occasionally offer. This is one of the central principles of Stoicism, choosing self-improvement over the shallow need for approval. When it comes to insults, Stoic thinkers offer profound freedom. They remind us that insults have no power unless we choose to give them power. An insult is, by itself, a harmless arrangement of words. It becomes harmful only when we internalize it, when we decide it matters. The Stoics emphasize that our cooperation is necessary for an insult to have any impact, so if we withhold judgment, the insult remains powerless. Imagine that. By choosing not to react, we keep our peace of mind intact. This is the heart of Stoicism, to let go of the judgments that disturb us. But the Stoics go even further, suggesting that the most humiliating revenge on an insult is to treat the insulter as beneath even a response. The strength of not reacting, of standing unmoved and composed, is deeply liberating, like stepping off a battlefield and watching your adversary tire out alone. The Stoics also warn that when we allow insults to matter, we expose ourselves to endless suffering. If we start letting one insult in, we make room for countless more. Think of it as a door. Once we open it to an insult, we open it to anyone who might wish to diminish us. But when we close that door and refuse to internalize any insult, we gain an invincible, unshakable peace. This is a powerful shift, a reclaiming of our independence from the weight others may try to place on us. Letting criticism and insults affect you deeply when they can just be seen and used to your benefit may result in irrational fear. The Stoics know this. That is why they also acknowledge a universal truth, that we are social creatures. It's natural for us to seek connection and community, to care about others. However, they caution us not to let this desire lead us to compromise our integrity. The fear of rejection, if unchecked, can drive us to bend ourselves into shapes that others will accept, often at the cost of our authenticity. When we attach our worth to social acceptance, we base it on factors outside our control. This misjudgment, as the Stoics call it, is dangerous. Instead of seeking stability from within, we place it in the hands of others, inviting chaos every time their perceptions shift. According to Stoic philosophy, our self-worth should be rooted in our own understanding of who we are, in alignment with our principles and Stoic virtues, not in whether others approve of us or not. Let no one reject you, reject even rejection. The Stoic approach to criticism, insults, and rejection is, in essence, a guide to inner freedom. It teaches us that our worth, our peace of mind, should remain unaffected by external opinions. By training ourselves to see criticism, insults, and rejection objectively, we learn to view them as separate from our inner sense of value. We begin to recognize that no one's opinion can add to or take away from who we are. This shift from external validation to inner stability is a profound transformation. a powerful mental shift that frees us from the exhausting need for approval. The ultimate gift of Stoicism is this liberation, the ability to rise above the noise, to stop caring what others think, and to ground our worth in our own actions and values. When we align ourselves with courage, wisdom, justice, and self-control, the core Stoic virtues, we build a lasting, unshakable sense of worth that doesn't crumble in the face of criticism, insults, or rejection. Instead, we stand firm, empowered, and free to live according to our own principles. This is the clarity and strength that Stoicism offers, a way of living where peace and self-worth are found not in others, but within ourselves. Caring about what others think is not only a poor guide for our lives, but a serious distraction. When we become fixated on the opinions of others, we hand over control of our peace, clarity, and purpose to a source that is often fleeting and unreliable. Think of how much energy and mental space is consumed by worrying about how we're perceived. We end up distancing ourselves from our own values, insights, and goals. The constant need to cater to external judgments keeps us on edge, at the mercy of ideas and opinions that are often baseless, temporary, or even contradictory. Instead, Stoic wisdom offers a grounded alternative. By centering our trust in our own perceptions and insights, we gain clarity. We see things as they truly are, free from the distorted value judgments that come from outside influence. But this shift isn't merely about ignoring the noise around us. It's about forming a habit of taking our own judgment seriously. It's about building the mental independence to rely on our own insights. When we can look at life clearly, with objectivity, we think clearly and make choices based on what truly matters to us, rather than what might win approval or conform to popular standards. Taking one's own perceptions seriously becomes not just a protective habit, but a foundation for self-reliance. It allows us to stand firm in our beliefs, even when others question or criticize our path. This is a powerful form of resilience, one that leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our lives. If you must, praise yourself with good reason. If you like what we do, feel free to do more by liking and sharing the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, to the community. How, you ask? By hitting that like button as a symbol of your commitment to change, by subscribing to join a community where wisdom isn't just shared but lived, to help us create powerful stuff. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, the gentle chime of a Stoic philosopher, reminding you to return to this space of learning and growth. Each like, each subscription, each notification is a step towards a collective awakening. And if you feel that stirring in your heart, a resonance with the words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus, share this video. That will help us immensely in continuing to create unique and powerful stuff for the community. Everything changes when you truly hear what Stoicism has been telling us all along. Everything gets better. Your self-discipline, your self-control, your temperance, your cultivation of inner peace and resilience, your self-awareness, your equanimity. You practice forgiveness more often. You stop caring what others think. You start to live with a sense of calm, clarity, and purpose. Even the practice of Stoic principles of the dichotomy of control, negative visualization, memento mori, amor fati, and the view from above gets easier and, more importantly, effective.